My name is Aaron Tague, and I teach AP Economics here at Brebeuf Jesuit Preparatory School. And today I just want to give you some insight on what kind of defines AP Econ, which studies two things. That could be either AP Macro or AP Micro. A little bit about myself. I attended Milligan University, which is in East Tennessee. I went there as a history major and as a minor in econ. And I then later went to Indiana Wesleyan, where I received a master's in education. This is my 25th year teaching social studies in general, and I've been teaching econ for the last 20 years as well. I also teach here at Brebeuf. I also teach AP United States History, and every few years a class called Genocide and the Holocaust. Beyond the course content, I really believe AP Economics, especially macro in a lot of ways, maybe over micro, really helps our seniors develop a sense of how the economy works, but also hopefully sees how they play a role in that decision-making process, whether it's as a consumer, as it's someone who then thinks about the long run, the future of the country and the economy, whether that's how we elect officials, what we want officials to do for the country, in the sense of the economy and the government budget, et cetera. So I really feel like AP Macro and Micro even is a very applicable course, especially for seniors and then juniors who can take Micro as well. Understanding these concepts, definitely help a student kind of see the world around them operate in a more efficient way and maybe start to recognize why things operate the way they do. Which I think is really important as they go into the world, as a senior going into college, a freshman, and so on. Like, just kind of wakes them up maybe to the reality of like how things might actually work. At least they give them some understanding. I believe this course, you can see there's some primary skills. This will be a new course for them. Econ is something that students haven't had prior to their junior or senior year, so it is kind of a learning curve course. But I think that's important. It helps them kind of feel that challenge of new material, and it helps them really kind of be able to better understand, a harder concept at first, maybe, but yet understand then how to relay that information in a way that's really important for them to show understanding. So again, it helps show like how human behavior works in the markets. Again, there's a lot of critical thinking, using economic ideas and terms to defend statements or explanations, etc. Also helps them just with like graph material. So understanding if I illustrate in a situation, do I know what the graph is telling me? Do I know the nuances of the shifts? So, a lot of applicable skills that for any student, I think is really important. You can see there are course content for macro and micro. We both kind of start at the beginning. What are some basic economic principles, which would include like scarcity, opportunity cost, supply and demand, production possibilities. Those are going to be covered in both courses. So both courses kind of start with the same material. Micro kind of then goes on beyond the demand curve. So we look at like elasticity, why demand operates the way it does with price and quantity. Macro focuses more on the indicators like inflation, unemployment, real GDP. Third unit there, you can see cost curves. Micro then gets into what will be the setup for markets. And in unit 3, macro really drives into fiscal policy and that graph called the macro model. Unit 4 for micro is the beginning of markets. So we talk about monopolies, oligopolies, perfect competition, and monopolistic markets. We go back and forth in those, talk about profit, loss, break even, shutdown, all of those different points markets would possibly move to or be in. And of course, for unit 4 for macro, we talk about the Federal Reserve, which again is a concept that would be hard for students. They don't really know a lot about the Fed, but they get it. It goes deep into banking, interest rates, and the role of the Fed and banks in our economy. Unit 5 for micro is labor markets, so understanding like the hiring and where we want to hire workers, that efficient point of like profit, loss, the ability to cover those costs as a labor market. And for unit 5, we have inflation and what's called the Phillips curve. And then unit 6, we have income equality, for micro, and then foreign exchange for macro. You can see for either course, we have, it is an AP course, so I do test it as an AP course. So we have usually 2 quizzes a unit, and then a test. All of these quizzes and tests will have questions from AP exams, so the student will always feel like they've been assessed just as the AP exam would assess them. And of course, during days we don't have quizzes and tests, obviously we'll be doing notes. I do a lot of practice in class, so I kind of stress like in our hour together, we are doing the work that will kind of reinforce the notes we've taken. So we have a lot of time to kind of ask questions, work on problems, assess what we've learned just in class time. I also provide a lot of video lessons, things to help them as maybe outside of class if they need extra kind of information and reinforcement. I would say 2 to 2.5 hours of homework each week. I don't get a lot of busy work, but there is like reading. We read a book called Naked Economics, in macro especially, where they do like short reflections. We do article summaries to kind of bring in current events on the topics we cover. Micro, we also do like some podcast listening. We do like articles. So again, there's always a little extra stuff outside, but usually the content of the class will be done in class. So I try to keep it in-house. That way they can ask questions and we kind of work together as a class to go through the material. I would say advice for this course, I mean, as a senior, especially, you have to take econ. So you either take regular or AP macro. And I really feel like AP macro kind of gives the students kind of that bigger picture of the economy, and we go a little deeper into some of the things that they're hearing about in the news. So I feel like it's very applicable. But again, even if this is your senior's first AP class, I think it's very doable. There is a learning curve, as I said, because econ's a new subject, but overall, I feel like it's a good class for all seniors to take. I will be, it is demanding. It is an AP course, so I do have to go quickly. We only have one semester to get through all this material for micro or macro. So I do feel like, your student does have to have that kind of driven. They have to be kind of self-driven to really accomplish the goals of the class. Not afraid to ask questions, definitely in class, outside of class, whatever it is, and to be open-minded and critical thinking. I mean, again, we're not prophesying any kind of specific belief in econ, but it is good to kind of be open-minded of like how the economy works and the pros and the cons of it. So just be ready for that if you are thinking about either of those courses. The AP exam is in the spring, as all AP exams are. So if your student does take macro in the fall, they will have to kind of come back and revisit that material, but I usually don't see too much of a problem with that. Most students are able to kind of come right back to it and succeed on the exam. And you can see there, the test isn't super long. It's 60 multiple choice, both macro, micro, and they both have 3 FRQs, 1 long, 2 short. Yeah. So if you have any questions, obviously feel free to reach out. You can email me. But again, I think AP Econ is an excellent course for juniors and seniors. It really helps them see the world in a better way, and it really helps them understand kind of their place as consumers and maybe even later on as producers, someone who's putting into the economy as well.